Welcome, everybody, to the Synapse Philosophy Group. I'm your host, Haig John, and we've got a really great group tonight, and we're on D.D. Palmer's 1914 book, The Chiropractor, and on page 106. We have actually broken down this book for, I would say it's about a year and a half. We've read it line by line, discussed it, digested it, and I have grown as a human being and a chiropractor from doing it. And I feel blessed to be with all of you, some new, some of us not so new on here. And we've been really, really enjoying this. And I just want to say there are some rules that we do have. And last week we went on, some people talked about different techniques and picking on different things. And that's not what we do here. Okay. And the people that have forged the path for us to get here, we revere them in every single way. And also, this is an open forum. If you have a question, you ask. We run it similar to Pasquale Sarasoli's Self Center. And if we're going and rambling on maybe a little too long, I might just say your name and try and pause and, to give everybody a chance to speak. We don't condemn anybody. Everyone can speak their opinion. And we do this so we're growing chiropractic and its philosophy to the 21st, 22nd, 23rd centuries and beyond. And you are all, and we are all making history in this moment. And I just wanted to honor everybody in that. So I'd like to begin. How is everybody doing tonight?
Doing well.
Great. And so if you want to speak for some new people, if you feel like it, you can there's the raise your hand button on here, or, just speak up, okay? But I'm going to begin reading, and I'm probably going to hand it off to Alan or whomever would like to read, because as we do sometimes we have a long day, and I've been talking all day, okay? So I'm going to start. Bones and Nerves, page 106. Medical, osteopathic, and chiropractic schools give more or less attention to the study of osteology and neurology, but not a page, paragraph, or even a given sentence is found in any one of many works I have on anatomy, neurology, physiology, pathology, regarding the all-important fact that the position of bones has all to do with the amount of nerve tension. I'm going to pause a moment. Such a powerful statement by D.D. Palmer. We have really come to the consensus that he is one of the most learned men of human anatomy and physiology at this time. He has read every book he can get his hands on from current to that date. Barry, do you remember what was that year he went back to? Was it like a 1500s book? He had searched for information. If anybody remembers what he quoted from that book. And this is a powerful statement. He means it, right? Anybody else? I'm going to continue. Dr. A.P. Still's Philosophy and Mechanical Principles of Osteopathy, date 1902. Has less than a half page referring to the vertebral column. He says every joint of the neck and spine has much to do with a healthy heart and lungs, because all vital fluids pass through the heart and lungs. we got Steve here, and I also want to tell him about what we talked about just now too. Steve, I just want to mention, when we're talking about other techniques, we're honoring them this week, okay? So
I want to say that I wasn't dishonoring any other technique. I was saying that it was more, I've learned that it's about the force, not the form.
Understood. So the osteopath, should never rest a day or night until he knows the spine is true and in line from atlas to sacrum, with all the ribs in perfect union with the processes of the spine. Slipped or twisted vertebra and ribs must be sought out and adjusted, giving intercostal nerves thorough freedom to act and soften muscles and let blood loose to feed and nourish the whole spine. This is all in quotes. Adjust the bones of the neck and let the blood flow and feed the nerves and the muscles of the neck and stop the constrictors that have been holding the blood in check until it has died. Dr. Still, the founder of osteopathy, believed that wind, air, electricity, and gas existed in the joints. Between the articular surfaces, that a change in the amount of these fluids account for health and disease. I quote from page 130, before pain begins in the joints, you are sure to find that all gas or wind has left the joints. Thus, electricity burns because of bone friction. Some gas must be between all bone joints. Thus, we find great use for atmospheric pressure to hold bones far enough apart to set the joint water, to let the joint water pass freely over the opposing ends of bones. There is a natural demand for gas in a healthy joint of the body. Reason leads us to believe that gas is constantly being conveyed to or generated in all joints. Before rheumatism appears, separating gas has been exhausted, and there follows friction and electric heat because of there being two or more joints in one electric current or division. I'm going to pause there a second. That was a mouthful, all in quotes from A.T. Stills. And I still don't believe when we hear that sound in our joints from the adjustment, that's the release of nitrogen gas. It doesn't make any sense to me. And I think it comes from back in that era. Has anybody ever read any research on that it's actually proven that it's nitrogen gas release? I've never seen it. What do you guys feel about this so far?
I've heard the three theories. It's nitrogen gas, it's the synovial fluid going into the sac and hitting the sac, and then it's like a ligament moving over a prominence. Now,
yeah, I've heard those.
But the gas,
and you think about it's a fluid-filled sac and a little bit of pressure. It's just like snapping a finger. You know, if you're releasing, some people adjust a lot. You release that much nitrogen gas, you end up with the bends, you know? Anyway, Alan, I think I've exhausted my poor little voice box here. Thank you. Would you mind reading?
I'm ready to go. So
Thank
we
you.
continue to quote Dr. Still here. We thus get what we call neuralgia, rheumatism, sciatica, and so on, to the full list of aches and pains not accounted for to date by our philosophers. On this plane of reason, you can see and know the whys of consumption, dropsy, tumors, fits, gray hair, baldness, and so on, to a surprising number of diseases, close quotes. The above does not read like, nor is its philosophy that of chiropractic. Eventually, Dr. Still was looking to joints for the cause of disease. On the title page of McClellan's Regional Anatomy, 2 large volumes, date 1892, is a line in French. In English, it says, "Anatomy is not much as it is taught in the schools." In other words, anatomy as taught in the schools is not anatomy. Schools of chiropractic put in many months studying anatomy. The students are led to believe that the study of anatomy furnishes all the important education for chiropractors, that to know anatomy is to understand chiropractic. A course in dissecting and the different branches of medicine will not furnish the principles of chiropractic. Reason out its philosophy, our education, one in vertebral adjusting. I think that that's a sort of a backhanded comment to the schools about anatomy is important, but let's be honest, it has nothing to do with what we're really doing here, except to let you know maybe how to do it. It's or what's involved when you're addressing a spine and a human being in front of you. But it doesn't have, the actual anatomy does not address the core of chiropractic.
No. it help you grasp the concept a little bit better. But like Dee Dee said, physicians deal with the physical, and chiropractors deal with the physical and the spiritual. And you realize the second one has been taken out of school. So we're really just making some glorified anatomists unless we mentor them into understanding chiropractic much better, because the education system has, it's excellent in learning the anatomy and learning the physiology and all those things of the body, and but understanding the deeper concepts of the philosophy and how powerful this really is, uniting the material with the spiritual. That is a concept that's purely chiropractic.
And we have to remember, this is 1914, and he's already talking about the fact that anatomy is being taught, and it can create issues with the understanding of what we're trying to do in chiropractic.
It's not even 1914, because he died before this book was published. So
that's right. This was all stuff that was written ahead of that.
5 years prior.
Yes.
Yeah, these were his teaching notes, so they probably are even older than that. These were he'd hand out these brochures in class. But yeah, I mean, and like we said, he read all the anatomy books, everything that was available at the time, passed through his desk. All right, should we continue?
All right. Bones give rigidity and shape to the body, form a case around the brain and spinal cord, protect delicate organs in the body cavities, constitute a framework of which individual bones are used as levers by muscles and nerves. In many invertebrate animals, the muscles are attached to the exoskeleton. In man, they are connected to the endoskeleton. Bones serve as a tension frame. Their position determines the amount of muscle and nerve tension. Nearly half of the body weight is of muscle. Movements are performed by means of muscles leverage is obtained by their attachment to bones. Displaced bones cause muscles and nerves to become stretched or relaxed. So there in the middle where he says bones serve as a tension frame goes back to something that he's referred to over and over and over as we've read this book, that it's a tension frame that makes the tone of the nerve system proper, because by adjusting the bones, you're allowing the tension like the bridge of a stringed instrument.
And if you think of upper cervical, what we're really looking at is tension on the whole meningeal, the dural system, the neural system, all of it, with that subluxation, and not being the pinched nerve, right? All right.
Traumatism is a diseased condition of the system due to an injury or a wound. Luxated joints, more especially those of the vertebral column, cause traumatism, a diseased condition. Dislocated bones impinge upon nerves, cause irritation, or by their displacement, relax or elongate the nervous tissue, thereby modifying tension, vibration, the transmission of impulses, the production of heat, and organic function. Poisons affect nerves, cause their relaxation or contraction. Loss of tension produces atony, innervation, a diminution of muscular power. Innervation is increased by nerve contraction. Contracted nerves, by their action on muscles, draw vertebra out of alignment.
Let's pause 1 second, Alan.
Yep.
The subluxation model is what he's describing, right? We're talking tension, not nerve pinch, and the effects of that function. Transmission of impulse, production of heat. This is really a description of tone, right? That vibration, chiropractic based upon tone. And what he's talking about is that nerve tension is the tone. The more it's tense out of its proper place, the signals change, the tonicity. All right.
All right. Autosuggestion or hypnotism, suggestion by another, relaxes or contracts nerves tissue, causing more or less tension. The importance of bone pressure, nerve impingement, nerve tension, the all-important fact that the position of the osseous frame, the neuroskeleton of the human body, has all to do with the amount of nerve tension, normal or abnormal, known as nerve strain. The amount of heat is never mentioned. In fact, is never thought of by the teachers of medical or chiropractic schools. It is therefore manifest that the would-be teachers of chiropractic know but little of the principles of chiropractic, do not know of it as a science or of its philosophy.
You know, that's a big deal. And, you know, I'm not picking on the teachers. It's that, you know, who's teaching the teachers what to teach? And the more it gets diluted, you know, we're not getting the depth of this philosophy. And he was talking about it in whatever this was, prior to 1914. And I think that's the most important job in chiropractic are teachers. And I had great ones. I had great ones at life, and I'm sure we had great ones everywhere. And we should support them and help educate them. You know, what do you guys think? How do we do that? We can complain about it, which is fun, but how do we make change?
That is the $1,000,000 question right there.
Barry, you
how do we get
unmuted.
more of this? How do we get more of this back in the schools? More of the philosophy.
That's why we record it, and they listen to it around the world. You guys know that. Go ahead, Barry.
I had this discussion today with a fellow chiropractor that gave a lecture, and he was shocked that many chiropractors in the audience had not read any green book past volume 18. So 19 on, and I said, it doesn't surprise me. And he was talking about, well, no wonder why the schools are the way they are. And it's a great question, Haig. I would say the answer is like DD. All it takes is one person that gets the message and has the principles to keep carrying it on. And this is what you're doing in this podcast. So thank you. I'm also surprised that our wonderful educated Dr. D.D. Palmer here misquoted AP Still. It's Andrew Taylor Still, AT Still, instead of AP. So I don't know if it was the key on his typewriter back then. I know he didn't have as fancy of a typewriter as his son BJ did with the unlimited roller, but I'm surprised by that.
It may just be a typo. There's been enough of them. There have been a lot of typos in this book, and it could just be that it's a typo in the reprinting of some other document as well.
Well, you know, I'm thinking, look, are the keys close together, but they're pretty far apart?
They're pretty far apart, yeah. And I'm so glad that you picked up on too. These are the different parts of the subluxation model, because it's talking about the neurotension, the mental impulse, heat being produced. So that's some of the pattern work that came in the 50s and 60s, and even today with some of our HRV stuff that we're noticing the organic functions, right? Changing in today's technology that DD's talking about back here on page 109 with, or sorry, 108, 107.
You know, it's part of our history.
Lest we miss it, what's been bastardized to be thoughts in the 3 T's is autosuggestion, which he talks about here. Originally, it wasn't thoughts, it was autosuggestion. Trauma, toxins, and autosuggestion. Yeah. Not thoughts, toxins, and trauma.
I think that's why he had so much trouble with Carver in the first, 300 pages of 1910 of his other book. I mean, the beginning of it is he's ranting about Carver and autosuggestion. And, yeah, interesting stuff.
You know, it is interesting, too, to go to our history, because if you think about autosuggestion, it sort of makes me think of The Secret, right? Whatever you think, whatever you bring about comes about. Yeah. But it's interesting that with the hypnotism with somebody else, because his son, D.D. Palmer, toured around with Flint, who was a famous hypnotist at the time. So BJ was very in tune with hypnotism. And, of course, D.D. was with mesmerism and the energy work. So it's interesting to see that written again, because I know a lot of people didn't know that, you know, BJ was toured around with Henry Flint was his name, a hypnotist.
Yeah, you know, that's a great story. And, you know, in reality, that gave him a great insight, right, to that world and it functioned. Yeah, interesting. Anybody else?
All right.
All right.
Nerve tension is accomplished by the bones acting as levers, A knowledge of this principle is essential for the comprehension of chiropractic as a science and specific adjusting as an art. The student may become familiar with the different branches of anatomy by the study of one or more books and dissection on the cadaver, and yet not know anything of the relationship existing between bones and nerves. Knowing the structure of the bones and nerves, the names of each and all their surfaces, the descriptive terms, nomenclature, and classifications, their location and functions, do not inform us of the importance which chiropractors should attach to the position of bones. Do not forget for one moment that all vital and intellectual forces depend on the condition of the nervous system for their expression, that there is a vital principle which distinguishes organized matter from inorganic, that when associated with matter of organized bodies controls its manifestation. Bones are only hard substances which can press against, impinge upon nerves. By their displacement, cause nerves to become stretched. Displaced bones are the direct cause of large percent of diseases. Any pressure upon or against nerves excites or creates abnormal tension. Bones displaced ever so little cause nerves to become contracted or relaxed. Either condition modifies vibration, alters the force of the impulse, and the amount of heat. A knowledge of the structure of the bones and nerves is well and good. To be able to name and locate depressions, articular and non-articular eminences of this is of a special benefit to surgeons, but to the chiropractor, it is all important and the more service to be acquainted with the relationship existing between bones and nerves. In order to have health, nerves must have normal tension, innervate each and every organ of the body, and on that of their functions may be properly performed, so that their functions may be properly performed. Sorry. I think that those three paragraphs are remarkable.
Yeah. I mean, the last one only had a couple of commas. That was really a long sentence.
But it's just he's reminding us of all the information that we've been through. It's like a summary of so much of what we've read in the last couple of weeks, couple of months, of the bony tension causing disease, that by changing the stress on the nerves, which causes them to be contracted or relaxed, and the things that affect that, and that's the cause of disease, not the bones, but the change in tension of the nerves and the tone of the nerves and the ability to transmit the impulses along them. Displaced bones, luxated or fractured, cause disease, not ease, by overtension of nerves. Therefore, chiropractors should be especially interested in the study of bones and nerves, more particularly regarding the effect either one has upon the other. See pages 761 and 76 of the adjuster. Normal nerve tension depends upon the usual position of bones. Displaced bones modify nerve tension, vary the amount of heat. Molecular vibration produces heat in animate and inanimate bodies. Excessive nerve vibration, molecular disturbance causes inflammation. Diffused inflammation is known as fever. Heat expanded, spread, scattered, extended, dispersed throughout the body is known as fever. And that is the end of the chapter.
And, you know, we've come on a journey. We're going to skip the last one. It's Peoria and alveolaris. However you say those words.
Alveolaris, yeah. It's
alveolaris.
Tooth pus.
Well, you know, to answer my own question from the last time is the reason why I even have innate workshops and doing the innate adjusting workshops. Most of the workshop is the philosophy of chiropractic. And we teach from 1914 book and 1910. And that's what most of this seminar is, plus adjusting and the application of that philosophy. That's how we do it. That's how we have to do it. And you know, the connecting for the posterity of chiropractic, the philosophy, the science, the art, and it's necessary and important for all of us to do it. How do you
Alan,
guys feel? Go
Alan,
ahead.
didn't you read, or was that you, Haig? It was either like a very light force, or was it he was talking about just a small displacement is enough? Because
Yeah, that was in the nerve tracing. Nerve tracing is and palpation is basically the innate workshop. I mean, that's what we do. Is he's talking about tuning in and tuning up your machine so you can, you know, you can get the information, that spirit to spirit type of communication. But yeah, that was last week. We talked about that
no,
exactly.
it was today's reading earlier on. It was something about very small movement or light pressure. I thought I heard that today.
Well, it
I'm
says
not
that small, it doesn't take a lot of motion in the bones to change the tension on the nerves.
Oh, it doesn't take a lot of motion. He knew that.
Very small, light, the small amount. It doesn't take much to make a change.
Wow.
Any changes makes a difference is wrong, if you will. It's the analogy is the cash register. Over or under, either way, it's not right. It's supposed to be balanced.
It's neat that he knew that it only took less than a millimeter of movement.
I mean, he may not have known how much, but his understanding is that any motion that changes the gapping of the joint and changes the position of the bone changes the tension on the nerve, and that's the key. The key, the nerves have a normal tension. If it's more or less, it's going to cause a problem at some point.
At every adjustment he was giving, he was thinking through it in exponential ways. You know,
all of my teachers, all of them, they stressed less is best.
mm-hmm. I always say the least amount of input with the greatest amount of change.
And I think that most of us have probably found that the more, as he talked about in the last section we read another day, was that practice. The more you know, the more you do, the more you know. You become more in tune. And I think most of us have found that the more we know, the closer we can get to the input that innate is asking for, if you will, in that phrase, and don't have to apply as much force to get the work done. Innate doesn't need a lot most of the time. She just needs you to give her a little juice.
Well, you know, we're not doing the adjusting anyway.
No, we're putting in a force for her to adjust.
We deliver the input to make to get the ball rolling, but innate knows where that bone should be at the right time all the time.
The way we adjust masterfully is the way I'm told to live my life.
I like that. So we've all, or you know, some of us have been parts of this or read it, you're on your own in the past or what have you. You know, what do you guys feel? How, you know, after we finished the volume 39 of BJ, like I could just feel his heart, his last words to us all, you know. I kind of feel this same way with DD, even though, you know, this was the teaching book, but I don't know. I felt his heart. You could feel his soul. It was, you know, do you get this, kid? Come on. You got to serve the people. This is chiropractic. We're changing the world. You can't, I could feel him, you know, that energy. How do you guys, what anything? Liza, I know this is your first day with us. Did you get anything out of the reading tonight?
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, it is amazing how he talks a lot about tone without saying tone.
Right.
That, you know, so that I was just making some notes with that. Yeah, I mean, I love this book. I really do.
Yeah, amazing.
It's amazing.
Thank you for that insight, because that's what he was really doing, was giving us, explaining tone without even saying the words. I thought of a violin is what I'm thinking of, tuning a violin, you know?
I have the book on order. It won't arrive until the end of the month. Hopefully by the time you arrive in Colorado, Haig. But up until now, I've read the PDF that you sent me on my phone, or I've got it here on my other computer monitor, and I just cannot wait to dive into this book and be able to highlight and underline and make notes and so forth, like I cannot on a PDF file. It pains me that this book is not readily available and with a nice green cover and in a hardcover. I think the one I'm getting is a paperback and so forth. And I don't know if anyone has reproduced it as a real book and not just a collection of PDFs, but I'd sure love a really
I have a copy from Jay Holder. Jay Holder reprinted, but I don't. They're actually old copies now, though. And then you can get them where they're printed out like on construction type of paper. I don't like that being tactile. I don't like that paper. But Jay Holder did reproduce them. And I have one of those copies too.
From Dr. Holder. But yeah,
There's an old copy that I got in. This is
That's the one.
green paperback. This was printed in 1970.
That's Holder's though, right? Am I correct?
No, this was before Jay.
Okay, because I have a green one. He just copied the cover of that one. This is what mine looks like.
This is printed by a company called Health Research and God, I can't even pronounce the name. Mokaluma Hill, California.
Yeah, this was from Vern Watson, actually, who was I think he was one of the old writers, actually. Copyright 1914, this one. Oh no.
Yeah. It's the print date you're looking for.
Yeah, that's the reprint. This is a reprint 1969. 1969. But it was hard to find, and BJ didn't want this one coming out. He did, he was building his own thing, and I get that. It would confuse things. But I feel so honored to have read it really again. This is the second time we've done this, guys. And I love it. It is that important. Now, I think we should go back and do the 33 principles from the senior texts of Stevenson next. I'm open to a vote. What do you guys think? After we've just digested 1914 D.D. Palmer and how many times we pulled out, oh, there's the 33 principle, there's one of the principles. I think that's where we should go. I'm open to votes. What do you all think?
Can't go wrong with that.
Can't go wrong with that.
I just got Claude Lessard's book that updates the 33 principles. I'm interested to see what he says. I'll bring that along.
Yeah, it's interesting.
That's just the freshman text is Claude's volume 1. Then he'll have volume 2s through 4 coming out, I guess, by 2027. Quite frankly, I'm reading it as well, and I find that I read Dr. Claude and I go back to 1927, and it makes more sense to me in 1927 that it does the updated version, but it's still great.
He has got a lot of science in there. Sometimes it's a little hard to track.
Mm.
He changes a lot of terminology that is just so ingrained in our lexicon that it's like changing it doesn't necessarily make it more eye-opening to me.
Exactly.
Right. Yeah.
I'm not going to badmouth it in any way, shape, or form, but I have the 3 of them on my bench right now, and that's the original Stevenson plus Dr. Strauss's commentary plus now Dr. Claude's book, and studying that every day.
That's a great idea. I didn't think of also we could do each principle and do it through Strauss and Stevenson. What do you guys think about that? That's a great idea. I've never read Strauss's.
Do you mean Strauss or do you mean Claude?
No, not Claude.
Because Claude changes.
Strauss passed away recently, and I think honoring him is a good thing.
That's always a good thing.
Yeah, I mean, I think that might be a good idea. I've never done that. I have all the blue books. I'll be honest with you, I haven't read many of them. I've read a couple, but I like to read the green books, but it might be good to read his commentary on them. What do you guys think of that? Everybody have copies?
Yeah. I think I have that one. I have a number.
I might even have it as a PDF. We could find that. I know that for sure. Because he sent them out as PDFs all the time after he stopped publishing them, and then he published them again. And Bob, the other thing I want to do, we're honoring Bob Crystal because he had The Science and Logic of Chiropractic reprinted. And this is one Pasquale signed for me. I want to read that one again because it was so good. For Haig, the science in this book will lead you to the ultimate in chiropractic, which is wisdom.
Wow.
Pasquale Sarasoli. So thanks for reprinting this one. And this is, from Werner, and this one's from Werner, Wyatt, and Watkins, Rational Bacteriology, which is an extremely important book. And I'm reading this one now, of course, and the other one, the Science and Logic of Chiropractic. But I think we need to have that one reprinted as well. But it was a journey, guys. It's so hard to put this book away and start in Stevenson. I have to admit it. It's a year and a half we've been doing this one book. That's only 100. We read 100 pages in a year and a half.
And we didn't even read them all.
What?
And we didn't even read them all.
And we didn't read them all. We skipped a couple because we had to. But I mean, we'd spend one line, some important ones, lifting the veil of ignorance of, from this plane to that plane of existence. Amazing philosophy and spiritual consciousness coming from D.D. Palmer in here. And, wisdom. It was wisdom.
Well, before we go entirely, there's I went on an aside. When in the Jewish religion, when we read Torah, when we finish reading a book, we say chazak, chazak, v'nit chazek. And I think that's appropriate for us reading this book and maybe any of the books that we read, because what that means is be strong, and let us strengthen one another. And we say that at the end of each book as we go to the next book of the Torah, because you end one and you start one that's every day the same day. And when you get to the end of the scroll, you start the next one immediately. So you're constantly reading and going through the books of the Torah and through the services through the course of a year. And what we're doing is going from book to book continuously.
Can you lead us in that?
With the philosophy of chiropractic.
Would you mind leading us with that then? Go ahead.
Well, that's it. We just say chazak, chazak, v'nit chazek.
Thank you for that. Well, we had, since we last were together, I think we did talk about, I taught a toggle class in Spain on a webinar with them. And they've all been watching these philosophy, workshops in Spain for a long time, actually. And so this is literally going around the world. Spain, Mexico, Brazil. There are people from everywhere watching these, and we want to thank everybody that comes on. Post it in more chiropractic groups. Christian, from Mexico, who usually can come on here. When we changed the time last time, they don't change it in Mexico where he is. He can't get on in time. So now that we finally changed back, I should have sent Christian a message, and he gets the students from Mexico to come in. And he's a real leader down there and leading the charge in chiropractic philosophy. He's at Univate, which is a beautiful school. I've been there myself. Univate, and Univate are really beautiful schools. And I just got a message from a student at the school in Veracruz, which I have not been to yet, but I heard Veracruz is absolutely beautiful. But there's a chiropractic school there, and he sent me a bunch of videos of him adjusting, doing toggle, and I cheered him on and gave him a few pointers. And so we're literally spreading around the world. So this does touch a lot of hearts.
I've become friends with a guy that's in Japan that's reprinting the green books in Japanese. He's translating them to Japanese for Japanese chiropractors, and I invited him to the calls. He says, I know about that. It's 12 or 13 hours difference. So he says, I watch these videos too.
Oh,
So he's
good.
watching us in Japan.
Japan. Add Japan to the mix. I absolutely love it. Well, you know, it's been a journey. I really don't have much more. Does anybody have anything to share? I feel like, it's like a relief, but I also miss it, getting through this, and it's just a joy. So if there's nothing else. One more thing. We are working on innate baby and innate upper cervical at Life University, probably by the end of the summer and that next quarter after that. So that's coming up. And then we're also going to Madrid. And then soon we're going to be doing this Synapse philosophy work podcast with Scott Little. We're going to do it together in Colorado in a couple of weeks. I'm going to be up there on the 24th to the 5th of April. 2 weeks. Anyway, I love and appreciate y'all. And Liza's so happy that you joined us. I hope you can join us again, and everybody else. I love seeing you. And, we'll see. I'll see you next week, and if not before.
Thanks, guys.
Love you guys.
Hi, everyone.
Bye, guys. Thank you all.
Get your Stevensons out.